Song title challenge, where the question is, climbers, how should you write this one, right? The first idea that you have on what road, conceptual road to go down on your song title is not always, but almost always not the best one. Mm-hmm. And so you got to dig through the bronze and the gold to get to the platinum, as Brent says. So we have climbers, listeners of this podcast, send in their song titles to info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. Again, info@daredevilproduction.com. Put STC or Song Title Challenge in the subject line so that it gets into the right folder. If you don't, it won't. Do you see what I did there? That was some song. That was some lyrical
internal rhymes there. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't, it won't. If you put the song title in there, I might catch it, but I might not, because I don't know what the heck that means. If you put your name in there, I might catch it. I might not. I don't know. Put STC in there so it gets in there. I go through when it's time to record these and we have an esteemed guest on. I pick one that pops out, and then it's our job in the next 15 minutes to cook up 5 or 6 different conceptual angles to write in that song and really, really dig down to find that cool angle. This is the exercise that you should be doing on every song title you have in your hook book. This is the exercise that you're going to be forced to do. God willing, you end up in a room with an artist and they're like, you know what? I want to write a song about my cat, Boots, today. And the title is Boots. And let's do that. Right. Well, I shouldn't pick that. It just came out. Right, yeah. But, just something so much. You're like, okay, now we got a song title to challenge the heck out of this thing to make it work. So, but this is also a great exercise, y'all, to breathe new life into your old song titles. We've had more than a couple hit songwriters on here going, they kind of do this all the time. And it's a muscle that they flex that's well developed, but they hadn't thought about applying it to like old 8-year-old, 10-year-old hooks. Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm going to go do this, man. And revise, you know what? Because it got in that hook book for a reason and you have good taste. Yeah. And it just needs a little jump start, and this is the way to do it. Okay. That's what this is all about. So it's not a co-write in any way, shape, or form. Use all of what we say, use none of what we say. It's up to you. But we do demand an invite to the number one party. Brent, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, this is just for inspirtainment. We want to inspire you to dig deeper in there. And yeah, we just want to encourage you just to, man, it works for me. This is something that once we started doing it on the podcast, we had so much fun doing it for other people's titles. I was like, I got to go start doing this for my own titles. And it's been working out well for me. So it's something that we don't just do on the show. It's something I go and do for my own titles. And it's been yielding results. So.
All right. Well, why don't you do us the honor of introducing our esteemed guest?
Happy to. Today's guest has achieved several number one country hits, including Lee Brice's Hard to Love, Sarah Evans' Suds in the Bucket, Jody Messina's Bring on the Rain. More recently, Night Shift was recorded by John Party and peaked at number 4, and Memory I Don't Mess With Lee Brice hit number 1. And his Garth Brooks hit More Than a Memory is the only song in country music history to debut at number 1 on both the Billboard and R&R charts. Our guest has also landed songs in the TV show Nashville and by artists including Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, Jason Aldean, Blake Shelton, Emmylou Harris, Vince Gill, Sister Hazel, Kenny Rogers, and Leanne Womack. Dang it! Billy Montana, welcome to The Climb.
Welcome.
Dang. Who are you introducing? Woo! Dang.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, if you keep eating your Wheaties and drinking milk, I think you've got a shot, buddy. I mean, you look pretty good.
This is, Billy, I hate to tell you, this is not a podcast. This is an intervention. It's time for you to start taking the songwriting thing seriously. And so we're here to
maybe it's time I
try to turn you into a songwriter.
We like the cut of your jib. That's the good news.
Hey, I was in your talking about taking an old title. I heard this. I didn't see this firsthand, but Harlan Howard, who's one of the most renowned Nashville songwriters of all time, I heard he had, because he wrote by himself a lot. Mm-hmm. So he'd have his cassettes. Cassettes are like rectangular audio.
This little ribbon has this little
funky wheel in there.
Little shiny ribbon.
Yeah, that's what that is. But anyway, he had his songs on those cassettes in a rack behind his chair, and every once in a while he would read down the titles, and if nothing had happened with that title, he'd pull it out and rewrite it.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Rewrite that same title, but write a different song to it.
Cool.
So it really is a good exercise to keep you on your toes with the titles that you come up with.
That's great.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Brent, how many times have we mentioned that, like in terms of, because every publisher, and Billy, you know this so well, every publisher just gets 95% ballads, right?
Yeah.
They want a tempo song. So it's like, take that ballad and throw a Maverick spin. You know, Mavericks are just all like break your heart love songs to tempo,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And put some tempo to that. What's the worst thing that could happen? You like the first one better?
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
not
can always go
bastardizing the
back.
song. You're not wrecking anything. You
Exactly.
can always go back.
Yeah, the worst thing is you make it better.
I like to look at it like if somebody's covering this song that you wrote that nobody's cut yet, if somebody were to cover it and do a wild, crazy tempo spin on it, what would they do with it if they were to cover it?
Yeah.
I think of a reimagining like a cover song version of it. So
Right.
that takes some of the pressure off. But
Exactly. All right. Well, Billy, thank you so much for coming. We are honored to have you on the show,
Glad to be
sir.
here, gentlemen.
Let's get to the title, y'all.
heck yeah.
So this is, I believe, from another first time we've ever used a song from this person here. I don't know how long they've been a climber, but we're grateful that they sent the title in. And I have to say, for better or for worse, because I'm not sure which way this is going to go, but Billy, I had picked out this one title. And in the interest of digging down through the bronze and the gold to get to the platinum, I just went to a couple more, and all of a sudden I was like, ooh, I just like the rhythm on this one.
Okay.
So let's see. Hopefully it's not too specific, but I don't think it's too specific. So the person who submitted the title is climber Chandler Williams.
Okay.
So thank you, Chandler.
Thank you, Chandler.
Chandler Williams. And the title is Church Pews and Rearviews.
Oh,
Church Pews and Rearviews.
Well, that rhymes already.
yeah.
That's like even if you don't, I won't. So it goes
Yeah.
along with what you said earlier, Johnny.
Yeah. Well, I like the rhythm of it.
I do too.
Yeah.
My immediate thing is just kind of like happiness is Lubbock, Texas in the rearview mirror kind of a thing, something like that. Like I go there.
Well, I also like that it's tangible items.
Yes.
Good point.
Immediately puts a picture in my head.
Right. It's not a feeling. It's actual physical things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Church pews and rear views. But they can be completely metaphoric,
Right.
which is also good.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Obviously, like when, a rear view mirror is looking back at the past. So,
Right.
Or it's a literal watching the highway disappear behind you type thing. So,
Mm-hmm. We say on this, we might have mentioned this one, that any genre is open. We can write this any sort of genre we want to, from rock to country to pop or whatever. This just so feels like a country title.
it does.
Yeah.
It feels like a country title. But hey, you never know what might pop out. But I love the internal rhyme of it. I love the concrete like visual of it. And so immediately I started thinking of trying to, I'm a big fan of let your title write your song.
Right.
So to look at the words, those are the words of the title are the clues. Let's figure out what this is about. So like,
And let me just interject real quick and continue on with your point. Billy, you can put anything, any words before or after the title to switch it around or what, we carte blanche there. Okay.
Okay.
yeah, church pews, rear views, and
Something else.
your memory or whatever. Yeah. So I think, okay, what do church views and rear views have in common? And so I think of the metaphorical of like rear views, hindsight. You see the truth.
Same.
You see the truth. You can maybe see your mistakes.
Yeah.
You can see that kind of stuff. Like there's a metaphorical thing for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something about the past. I heard a quote yesterday that you have to live life going forward, but you don't understand it till you're looking backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that could be a line in this song, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't a church pew the same thing? You're living life going forward, and you're also trying to understand it looking backwards and get some advice, get some wisdom, some perspective from a church pew, and you can also get perspective from a rear view, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I love there. I think this is a good title. I think there's a lot
I do
to kind
too.
of be dug in there that has a little bit of depth to it. I think of maybe, and there were songs around this sort of thing, but like in these small towns, what do people do to deal with it? Some drugs or Jesus, it's like some people hit church pews, some people hit the rear view, and some people just blow out of town thinking that'll fix it. Some people go to church. What are different ways that we deal with heartache, maybe?
Or
this breakup.
finding answers.
Yeah.
I mean, you could call it church pews and rear views without that necessarily being the line, but you go, where do you find the answer?
Yeah.
Church pews and Rearviews.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be pretty cool like that.
Or think it's somewhere between church pews and rear views, you know? I mean, there's so many stories you could wrap around those things. I think of rear views of somebody leaving town. You know, did something happen, like in the context of the church kind of thing, why this person is leaving?
Right.
Was there abuse? Was there whatever? Or was there just somebody that was there that broke your heart? You know, used to sit next to and now you're leaving town, that sort of thing. Church pews and rear views.
Well, you know, you said something, Brent. I don't know if you've caught that you said this, but you said it's somewhere.
No, I drop gold all the time, Johnny. I can't keep up with it all. My pocket's got holes in them.
That's why he didn't pick up on it. It's so common.
Well, it's somewhere between church pews and rear views, right? So on that angle, you could be like, okay, and adding to what Billy Montana said is where are the answers, you know? And you can be like sort of maybe throwing, you know, going philosophically down that road. And then I guess at the end of the day, it's just somewhere between church pews and rear views.
I love that.
Looking up.
Like maybe that's the look. Yeah.
Looking up and looking back.
And maybe there's stories like Bobby had this and he found a salvation on a church pew. And
I know.
Jimmy did this, hopped in a car and drove to Nashville and look at him like he's doing great. And maybe it's a person just trying to figure out how to make the best of their life. And they're looking at all these other people, which we all do. We all covet. And then you're going through that. And your conclusion is, I guess the answer is somewhere between church pews and rear views.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I'm trying to choose. Yeah. He's trying to choose, you know, do I just, okay, I'm burning out of this town. Like I've kind of burned every bridge in this town and it's coming down to church pews or rear views. I'm either got to get right or get gone. Right.
Ooh.
Cool.
Oh, I like that.
Something's got to change, either my address or me or my heart.
Right.
My address or my heart. Yeah.
That's good. It could actually be like a wedding or something happened bringing the church pews in. Could be that I'm trying to figure out where the rear views would fit into that.
Maybe somebody skipped on a wedding.
Exactly. That's sort of what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I love that. Okay, how do you make that work? That's really good.
You know, it's like ready to run, you know, like that Dixie Chick song.
Or I mean, I don't know if we could do this, but church pews or rear views. That's
Yeah.
From church pews to rear views.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember on is it Thunder Rolls where the lyric is, you know, 3:31, 3:32, 3:33, and it's just like she's watching the clock and he isn't home yet. And what if you take like that kind of story, like it's just like right up the day the wedding's happening, and all of a sudden you're like, well, it's boiling down to church pews or rear views. Like he still hasn't, or she still hasn't made up her mind yet on what they're going to do. And maybe it's lighthearted and it's just about your typical. You get the jitters before you get married.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Cold feet.
Cold feet. Yeah.
Or maybe it's darker. Maybe it's.
That sounds like an old folk song.
Yeah.
Or bluegrass.
But maybe it's darker like Two Cadillac. But I got the one I really love is over here, and it's some sort of tragic story like that.
Oh, gee, it could be.
Yeah. Or it's she's having her come to Jesus with her guy about you're either going to be next to me in the church pew or you're going to be behind me in the rear view.
Right.
Like you need to get right or I'm gone kind of thing, like the ultimatum kind of thing.
That's actually my favorite so far.
Yep.
You could even do you could do that kind of bluegrassy, mom and dad or whatever. And then she had to set them straight and it was church pews or rear views and, whatever. So that could go in a couple different kind of directions. I could even see kind of a Southern gospel, more of a faith country, or bluegrassy kind of thing about church pews and rear views. It's about where people try to find the truth or where people try to move on. You move on in a church pew, let the past go, or you can let it go in a rear view.
Yeah. I definitely like because Brent, you were talking about, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking like the difference between church pews and rear views. A rear view is kind of that no matter where you go, there you are.
Right.
We try to leave the past, but we got this little invisible U-Haul that we really do bring a lot of it with us, our baggage.
It brings all the baggage and everything.
Yeah.
But like in the church pew is more like where you can like really leave stuff behind. Like there is a different level of moving on and not just running from. And that's the difference between church pews and rear views. So that could be definitely more on the faith angle kind of thing.
That's good.
Totally.
Sorry, Billy, what were you going to say though?
Well, not making the rear view the literal, but keeping it the metaphoric, looking back type thing. I think. I mean, that's what I would gravitate to, anyway. But man, that last thing, that's pretty hip.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's my favorite one now.
Yeah.
You bested your last favorite,
you did.
Brent. You're on a roll.
Keep going, Brent. What you got, Brent? That's good.
Give him the ball. He's got the hot hand.
You're the second. You're the second song title challenge of the day, Billy. So I'm warmed up. You're not my 10. You're my 2. So, what else? Church pews and rear views.
The difference between church pews and Rearviews.
Well, and it's also, they're all a part of life. Like if you did a laundry list of things leading up into that, like you guys were talking about, you can put anything before it or anything after. So if you kind of piled on a laundry list of things that just meant life.
Stages of life, yeah.
Yes, like who knows what. I mean, just think about those things and it culminates, because I think one of the things that maybe, Johnny, you like about this title to begin with is that it is to some degree self-explanatory, where the song can write itself. If you take it with the figurative, the symbolism of church pews and rear view. So if you did some other things in advance of that just mean that's what life is all about. Those are the ingredients. Those are some of the necessary ingredients of living.
Yes.
I mean, and maybe things that are somewhat related are, you go like winding roads and something, something shoes, church pews and rear views. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
And I think of like rear views is like moving on from something, change.
Right.
Whether you're moving from one town to another, going to college, whatever that stuff is, that life has changed. But what you find in the church pew, hopefully, is the thing that does not change, is the steady through line, the rock. The truth, absolute truth does not change. Everything else might. And that could be the difference between church pews and rear views. Like in this world, you can't count on all this stuff. You change, you move, one season to another. But that thing you find in the church pew, if not, you need to change churches, but put that church in the rear view. But if it's like, what's the truth this week? Well, I don't know. Let's look at the news. But that could be a thing too. And that definitely feels more of a faith-based kind of song, because that's the big point of that is the faith thing. Let's see.
Yeah, because in the verses that's where you could explain it, is like all of the things that you go, like love found, love lost. You say those things in the verse.
Fortune's won, fortune's lost.
Yeah, exactly. Mistakes, obviously. Successes, victories and failures, all those types of things that you're doing a yin and a yang almost, because as you were saying, Brent, they're almost like to some degree in opposition of each other, to each other, church pews and rear views, but they're all an ingredient of what life is.
Life. Yeah. That's it.
What if it's about like, how they say, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right? And it's all about moderation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like in your life, you got to include like church pews and reviews. Like, it's like you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right? Know when to walk away, know when to run.
Cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's like you're going to have some, like one of the biggest lessons I ever learned in my life was like letting go of friends who need to be let go of. You know what I mean? And you're loyal and you're loving, but this has become intolerable and toxic, and it's no longer going to work. And the gap is too much.
Yeah.
And that's where the rear view, you got to have a dose of rear view, but then you got to have a dose of church view too. But you can't let one overpower the other. They have to be in moderation, maybe.
It feels like the grandfather advice kind of song, or the grandmother advice about church, you're going to have church pews and rear views, things that change and things that don't, that kind of stuff in your life, and just wrap some kind of truth life advice kind of around this thing. I think that could be cool. I also think it was like church pews and rear views. What if like somehow the view in the rear view is the church pew? Like that back seat, what's going on there in the rear view that you're seeing that feels like church? And that's a stretch. I don't know the answer to that. Is it, what's going on back, like as you're driving down the road that feels like a church pew in that rear view? I don't know. Is it something your kids are doing? Is somebody sitting back there? You taking your mom somewhere? she's older and she's having church back there. She's praying on the way to somewhere, or she's just the faith that she shows on the way to the hospital for another treatment for, I don't know. It's twisting it, but like, that's interesting though. If that turned that back seat into a church pew.
Right on.
Because it's like a long padded bench. So.
And there's a lot of things that happen in a back seat. There's a lot of ways you could go with that.
Things you can't do on a church pew. Yes.
Put that in some songs.
Hoping God ain't looking in the rear view. Back here. God, just keep your eyes on the road.
That's amazing. Johnny, you had to go there. You had to go there.
All right. I'm the pepper. He's the salt.
That's amazing.
He's a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll. You know how it is, Billy.
Oh, man. She's Rearviews.
Well, that's good, man. Is there one more we can come up with? I mean, we got a lot of good looks at this, but is there one more? Is there one more under there?
It feels like, it's like...
Just because this title's so fun, man.
Yeah, and it feels like, let's get Mo Pitney in the room. Is what that title feels like.
Yeah.
And we've had Mo on the show. But, I think this is one of those where the first bite of the apple... I mean, this feels like all variations of that first bite of the apple we got.
Yeah.
That first, like, oh, there's metaphorical stuff here. And it's like digging through that to find like that little vein
like
of
if
gold
you had
other
metaphors, this wouldn't be it necessarily. But like what I was trying to say with that laundry list thing is if you said like something that symbolized stability, then something that symbolized
instability.
Yeah. Like, so if you said like from porch swings to walking shoes,
yeah.
Oh,
church pews to rear views.
You
see, like,
I like that.
Like these things that are symbolic of being settled or unsettled.
Oh,
maybe.
And it could be that guy he's kind of torn between the two, like it's time to grow up some, and he's still not ready to. What was that Miranda thing? Am I settling up or settling down?
Yeah. That's cool.
And it could be like a top of the course, church pews and rear views, porch swings or walking shoes. Like I'm somewhere in between the two.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or even if you start at that and you say church pews and rear views, like, man, do I fish or cut bait a little bit? Like, is this her?
I love that.
Maybe he's going, is this her?
That's definitely the country way to do it right there.
Yeah. Like, I think she's might be the one, but I'm struggling with it because I kind of don't want to be tied down.
Yeah, so you're asking the question, is it church view or a rear view?
Somewhere between church pews and rear views.
Church pews and rear views.
That's a hammer.
Yeah. That is, man. And like I can tell that she wants me to choose. And so it's time that I gotta choose church pews and rear views, man.
I can tell that she wants me to choose. Is it church pews or rear views? Oh.
So that could be pretty hot too.
Oh, that could be the song that opens up with the chorus. Yeah. Right. And if the chorus starts on church pews and rear views, but you do something weird that's like a nice little flag right at the beginning of the song with, I can tell she wants me to choose church pews and rear views, and you're like, oh my God. That opening line is so hot.
It's his side, that ultimatum kind of thing in a way, but it's more subtle. She hasn't forced it on him, but he's like, he knows. Oh, there we go. So. And
that's a whole nother lane to go down. That's definitely like number one pop country material right there. Because then you're all talking about the good things and the bad things and making that decision. And it's like, and I can tell she wants me to choose. Is it church views or rear views?
And I love her, but I'm
awesome.
Boy, freedom's been good. I don't know.
Yeah, marriage is an institution, and I'm much too young for an institution.
That's awesome. Not for that institution.
For that institution. Right.
I could go into maybe another institution.
Right.
Mentally.
Okay, there it was. There it was. We do one more dig in the dirt, and we got down to that. That was brilliant, you guys.
Yeah, that
Billy,
was,
thank you so
that was
much.
awesome, man. That's
fun.
That's really cool.
You're all warmed up for your right now, Billy.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
There we go. I love it. Well, hey, guys.
So whoever you're writing with in a minute, tell them that Brent and Johnny said you're welcome.
That's right.
I'll do that.
You got your warrant, don't you? Put me in the game, coach. Billy, is there anything that we can plug for you before we say goodbye?
I mean, not really. I got a cool thing happening with Lee. Lee's an old friend, Lee Bryce, which is why I have as many songs with him as I do. But we've been writing songs for 20 years probably. But
You mean it's about relationships? Oh my gosh, we should talk about that, Brent.
Right.
See that can of worms I opened. Well, no, his tour is starting out, and it's called Beer Drinking Opportunity Tour. And that's a song that I wrote with Lee and my son Randy. So
cool.
keep an eye out for that. Yeah.
All right, we'll do it. So a Beer Drinking Opportunity
Tour.
Co-written by Lee Bryce, Tony Montana, and Randy Montana.
Tony Montana.
Well,
You're talking about Tony Montana.
Tony Montana. Tony Montana. Sorry. That's where I'm going with that. Okay.
It's Randy
I'm doing the
Montana.
Scarface routines. I'm sorry, Billy. But I think he's the coolest. Like, that's the coolest movie ever. So it's in high regard with me. You know what I mean?
I love that.
All right, guys. Well, send your song titles into info@daredevilproduction.com. Please put song title challenge or STC in the subject line. And Billy Montana, thank you so much for saying yes and spending this time with us. It was a pleasure getting to know you, man, and super, super brilliant brain. I love it.
Thank you, Donna, Johnny, and it was cool to be a part of it. Thank you guys for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you much.
You got it, man. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.